Mr Speaker, and I'd like to offer you and to the House Happy New Year. Good best wishes to everybody. I hope everyone had a great summer break and has come back ready to work. Because I thought, actually, having listened to all the speeches so far this afternoon, that I'd give a weeny bit of advice, a bit of a feedback. So, Mr Shearer, you've taken 20 minutes of my life. 20 minutes that I will never get back and 20 minutes that you owe me. Having said that, Mr Shearer had a good effort, and that good effort was that he was trying not to, for once, plagiarise Ed Miliband, the leader of the UK Labour Party, and was, for once, trying to actually say something himself. Who knows what it was? I have to say that some of us had to have a cup of tea partway through just to keep going. And then we've got Materia Toure from the Greens. Now, she would like to make this country a great country. Well, I've got news for her. Her job is over. It already is a great country. It's the best little country in the world, bar none, and it would be even better if she and some of her friends stopped bagging New Zealand from one side of the world to the other. It is disgraceful the way that some New Zealanders and some members of Parliament think it's quite all right to go overseas, bag New Zealand, try and destroy our tourism markets, try and destroy our economic stability, and then come back here and say, I'm here for New Zealand. Well, actually, no, they're not. Now, New Zealand first. Well, Mr Peters is always entertaining, always entertaining, doesn't say a lot, but he's entertaining. And when he talks about justice, I know he didn't really today, and there's a good reason. Wouldn't vote for the search and surveillance bill in there with the Labour Party and the Greens on that one. Wouldn't vote for the alcohol reform bill. At least the Labour Party came to the party eventually. So I'd say just remember those, Mr Peters. Mana Party, Hone Harawira, actually, Mr Speaker, I've said his name, that's enough, nothing more. And let's talk about where we're going this year in justice. But actually, before I do that, just a word of advice, and I will now quote someone, and I will name them. I will not plagiarise them like Mr Shearer does. Martin Luther King Jr., when I'm looking at that coalition of the four parties opposing the government, which is that nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Well, that sums up the opposition, it sums up their supporters. So what we've got in the justice is we've got a year ahead. That is pretty fantastic, really. We've had a great year last year. Search and surveillance legislation got through by one vote. Crime is at a 30-year low despite the opposition. Things are moving very well. The police and corrections and justice are working really well together, sharing resources where they need to, trying to make sure that we have the same goals in mind, which is all about keeping the crime rate down, reducing the number of prisoners who come out and reoffend, increasing drug and alcohol treatment, increasing education for prisoners, making sure we have fewer victims in the first place. And it is succeeding. It's succeeding even better than many of us thought it would. Last year, another 6% drop in the overall crime rate, and that's on top of other significant drops since we have been the government. And despite all of that, great work, no extra money this last year in justice, no extra money that we've had, but we've had to make better use of what we have. And part of that is actually making use of technology, freeing up the frontline staff to be able to do their job properly, which in the police, a lot of it's around preventing crime in the first place, thinking outside the square, not just reacting, but actually changing the environment in which people live. And the police have shown time and time again that they are absolutely the people to lead this sort of work. They are people who understand their communities, and they are people who can make a serious difference, particularly for young people and particularly for the victims of crime, many of whom are repeatedly victimised by the same people, the same families over and over again. But the crime is coming down, 30-year low. By the way, road toll, what's that? That's a 50-year low. Increasingly better policing, smarter policing and excellent leadership. We're also going ahead with new legislation this year with the help of our support parties and partners. One of the things we're going to do is make it harder for those accused of serious offences to get bail. And I'd like to hope that we'd get some support around the House for this. Time and time again, we see someone accused of a very serious offence go on and commit another extremely serious offence, in some cases far worse. And I think there should be some really reasonably good cross-party support for that. At the same time, recognising that bail is something which most people would think should be available for someone before they've been convicted or before they've even had their hearing. Also, we're going to be reducing the number of parole hearings for prisoners who are very unlikely to be released at that parole hearing. We think that's a sensible use of the parole board's time, saves a lot of time and effort from corrections, but more importantly, saves victims coming year after year after year to listen to parole hearings when there is little or no chance of someone getting parole. And this has really come about primarily because of the fact that we understand what Michael Choi's mother went through. Time and time and time again, listening to it. 6 or 7 parole hearings a year, no chance of these people getting parole and having to turn up. And the fear would be, and some people have said to me, oh, well, why do they bother turning up? Well, just imagine the fear. If you don't turn up, they get parole, she'd go and blame herself for the rest of her life because she hadn't turned up. Also introducing a new type of restraining order to protect victims further from harassment, really brought about by the situation that happened in Invercargill last year. I'm sure year before last, people will remember, where a victim of sexual assault, the offender came and decided to live right next door to her, and of course that created a tremendous amount of fear in her, and because of the way in which, in the time that had elapsed and the time that he'd been released from prison, there was nothing that could be done under the law. Also increasing the penalties for child pornography. Now, I actually think that this is a very important piece of work. We know that over the years, child pornography has proliferated, particularly through the use of the internet, cloud technology that's used for storing these images, all sorts of the high technology being used to further victimise the children who are utterly destroyed. Their lives are utterly destroyed by this sort of behaviour. I think, hopefully, that most of the House will understand just how important it is for us to be, in fact, leading this as part of the global alliance that we now have against child pornography. In December, just this last year, I was very privileged to be part of the global alliance against child pornography, which was set up in Brussels, led by the US Attorney General, Eric Holder, and also the EU Commissioner, Cecilia Malmström. And to be part of that alliance with other countries coming in and being able to state what they are doing, I'm proud to tell this House that we were in fact one of the leaders of this. We're also obviously in the using technology to assist the police, to assist corrections to be able to do their jobs more effectively, but also to be able to free them up from some of the tasks that might otherwise take their attention when they could be putting more work into preventing crime and rehabilitating prisoners. In the justice area, it wouldn't be right without mentioning reform of the family court, which is long overdue. I've had some very heartening responses from former ministers of justice commenting about how they would like to have been able to get this through. But of course there's very effective lobby groups amongst the lawyers, and having been one myself, I know just how effective they can be. But we do need to encourage people to sort out their problems in the best ways possible through a better use of dispute resolution and more targeted counselling. There is a way forward on this, and the way forward must be to understand that when children are involved, these parents loved each other once enough that they had children. They must, in fact, put their children first and try wherever they can to sort out their differences. And those differences, at the moment, their children suffer, the taxpayer pays through legal aid and through all the other services made available. And in the end, I can't think of anyone who's ever been through the family court system who's ever felt that they were better off for having gone there. The family court needs reform. It does great work, but we need to update it, upskill it, and we need to be more responsive to the needs of those who use it. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this debate. I'm looking forward to an extremely busy year. I think we have something like about 30 pieces of legislation that we want to get through, and I hope that other parties will be able to work with us in a spirit of some consensus, understanding that some of you will want something for it, and that might be some concessions. But I think we can work together, have a great year, and actually make this country an even greater country than it is now. Materia Ture, this is the best little country in the world.